Oh, this is Kevin Crowsyn with the Association of Military Alumni, and this is the first of many. So thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking with Ashton from UF Haley Brain Health Program today. We also have Evan Lowe, who is the VP of Communication for the Association of Military Alumni. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it along to my co-hosts.
Hey, Ashton, thanks so much for joining us today. Like I said, you are our first one ever, so I really appreciate you taking the time to, come talk to us about you and your experiences. So, to start off with, what branch of service did you join, and at what age did you enlist?
Yeah. So first, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. So I enlisted at 17 in the delayed entry program into the United States Marine Corps.
Okay, very cool. Did you enlist out of your hometown? Where are you from? Military family encouraged you making that move?
Yeah, so actually born and raised in Texas, but I was actually enlisted out of Clarence, New York. Originally, I knew at 7 that I was going to join the military. I actually ended up watching a TV commercial, and my mom wasn't actually the most, she wasn't the most fond of me joining, especially at that age. So she was trying to discourage me from this line of a career, but she actually ended up supporting me, later on, whenever I was in high school. It actually ended up being more of a family endeavor. I had 2 stepbrothers that ended up enlisting into the Marine Corps as well. One ended up joining Force Recon. And then the other one, he actually made it through recruit training and then decided it wasn't for him. So, but there was 3 of us that ended up enlisting, but I was the only one that actually ended up, re-enlisting and tried to make it a career.
That's awesome. I totally understand the mom not being on board thing. Mine cried the day I told her that I was going to be an artilleryman. So, I totally get that. But they get on board eventually, right? It's a little scary first.
No,
for all
absolutely.
Once you see all the benefits it brings to you, it's a no-brainer, truly. That's great. So you said your stepbrothers they also enlisted. So were they a big influence on you choosing the Marine Corps, or were you already all the way in? You saw the cool Slaying Dragon commercial, and you're like, "That's for me."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I knew I was going to join, right then and there. As soon as I saw that, I mean, who wouldn't want to join? But no, like I said, I knew, from a young age. My stepbrothers, actually, I didn't really know them growing up. So it wasn't until, my parents, we come from a blended family. They got married whenever I was in high school. So I didn't know them until, later on in life. So they didn't really have any indication. I think I'm the one that actually put it in their heads.
Okay.
So they kind of, I think I kind of put, like I said, I was the reason that they joined, I think.
Okay, very cool. What was your MOS?
Yeah. So I wanted to join infantry, but at the time they said no. Combat MOSs weren't a thing for females. So I joined as a field radio operator at the time, but I actually ended up getting to, serve as a lioness whenever I was stationed out in Iraq. So I got to kind of sneak my way into what I really wanted to do.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned Iraq. What duty stations did you have that were stateside? And then obviously at least one deployment. You want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was stationed in Camp Lejeune as 8th Communications Battalion, and then I was stationed in Iraq. So as a lioness, but that was as a really just as a I want to say more is just as a quick 2-month program, because again it wasn't a thing that was common at the time. And then I was out in Afghanistan for a few months as well. I came back and then I served as a recruiter. So I got to do a little bit about what you and Kevin are doing now. Yeah, so I was there from 2009 to 2000. Oh yeah, 2000. Just the basic ones for your time over there. So I said the major schools that I got to go through. Like I said, my lioness training was really the big ones. Again, that wasn't something that was common over there. and then recruiting school, where I got to learn, a lot about sales training, which helped me with my career path that I'm doing now today. Yeah, so I definitely, like, when I first transitioned out of the military, I, was trying to, like a lot of service members, try to figure out what I wanted to do. I think sometimes I still try to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. That's what I tell some people. But for me, I always wanted to be able to sit there and serve my community. I think that's always kind of tied back is being able to help people. And I knew, when I first got out of the military, I was, trying to find my purpose again. I think a lot of people after they get out of the military, they kind of lose that identity. And for me, I was, kind of struggling with that. I was also, struggling a little bit with my own mental health, battles. And so, I went back to school. I was doing online schooling at the same time. And so, as I was going back to school, I was trying to figure out again what I wanted to be able to do. So I was going back to school for business. And then, I started off in, recruiting and business, and it didn't feel right to me. And so, I started in a nonprofit up north, actually, in Illinois. And I was working for a nonprofit that helped with veterans with post-traumatic stress, being able to get help. And so I was working with them, helping veterans from all across the nation be able to get access to behavioral health services. And this is kind of where I felt my calling, where I was able to help people. And I kind of just had like a fire kind of lit inside me. And I was like, man, this is really cool, and again, I was just, really excited to be able to, help change people's lives. And so, as I was continuing on my education journey, I was realizing that, the post-traumatic stress was, something that I was really passionate about, but I still felt something was missing. And so, my husband and I kind of made the decision to move to Florida I want to say it was like about this time last year. And so I started applying for jobs, and I found the University of Florida as a Haley Brain Wellness Program. And it's a traumatic brain injury program where we actually assess and treat veterans and first responders that have traumatic brain injuries. And throughout my, years of working in the behavioral health sector, we've talked about traumatic brain injuries, but we haven't really, at least in my time, I haven't really found a lot of programs that actually treat them. They may assess and they say that, that they're, working and treating them, but they don't actually, or they're not actually providing that service. And so, whenever, I came down here and I actually, toured the program, I realized that, the work that's actually doing here, they're treating the symptoms. They're actually helping improve the healthcare, for this community. And so I was really excited to be offered the position for, the Associate Director of Development and External Affairs. And so our program is really helping, treat this community. And so I've been on board for the past, I started in June of last year. And so my job is to help with fundraising and development, but also is specifically for recruitment of patients. And I do a lot of community outreach in that regard. Sorry, long-winded on that part. Well, I've learned that you guys are a very close-knit community. Everywhere I go, first of all, my very first day at the University of Florida, I did learn, the proper, like, right over left, the whole gator, the gator chomp. That was very important, but no, there was a lot of things that that I've learned about this community. It's, the camaraderie here, it honestly, it feels a lot like the military community in that regard. I've worked at a few different, places, and, the ability to sit there and call up somebody and, it's not just a lot of talk, it's people willing to sit there and, genuinely help you. It has that kind of that small time, feel, is really nice. It really does feel like like you've kind of, come home again. But, I've definitely, I've learned a lot, in the short time that I've come here. So I hope that answers your questions. Yeah, I think, and you actually mentioned that, whenever it comes to, like, injuries, like with, like your football, ringing your, like I said, ringing your bell. A lot of people that I encounter in the community is, and I didn't know this because I have the lived experience of having a traumatic brain injury, and, from my earlier days, because I played a lot of sports, and, I have young kids, and I get to see them sitting there knocking their heads on everything from like tables, whenever they were, kids, and, playing sports now. I didn't realize that I had a TBI, until after I started looking at the symptoms. And so, when I start talking to, people in the community, one of the first things that I tell them when I talk about our program, is, hey, I didn't know that I had a TBI. And I was like, oh, I don't have a TBI either. And I'm like, well, how do you know? It's like, have you ever been evaluated by one? And they're like, well, no, but I know I don't have one. And so I like to educate a lot of people on the symptoms, some of the signs to sit there and look for. And, I go into a lot of the symptoms for them because, again, if they don't know about them, then, how do they know to sit there and reach out for a program like this? And so I go over, some of these symptoms. And in fact, I actually created a nice little, symptom guide, for them to be able to sit there and look over. And then afterwards, they come up to me and they're like, hey, I think I might actually have, a TBI. But what makes our program a little unique is that we don't see just, service connected injuries. A lot of the times our veterans or our first responders may have experienced a head injury from prior to the military service or even afterwards. In fact, we've had veterans and first responders that have had maybe like a football injury, like you had mentioned, or a car accident, after the service, or a motorcycle accident. And we'll see them, it doesn't matter era served or discharge status, we'll see them, regardless, if it's connected to, their time in the military or, their time as a first responder.
Sorry, Ashton. Looks like we're having some tech difficulties with Evan, so jump it in. So he's mentioned, since you're a nonprofit status, could you explain to the viewers who may not be familiar with kind of UF Health structure or UF Haley Brain Health Program? Kind of explain the specifics of what exactly it is, how you all get your funding and work in the community.
Great question. Yeah. So we are a philanthropically funded program. So we work with private donors and foundations to be able to support us and support our veterans and first responders to be able to, continue with our programmatic efforts. So we're actually in the process of a, month-long fundraiser with our Charlie Madison Originals currently right now. So if you go to our LinkedIn website, we're actually, doing a fundraiser with them where 15% of the proceeds go to our, programmatic efforts. In fact, I'm wearing one of their bracelets right now. But we do rely on, donations from the community to be able to, work with, basically, care for our veterans. So it doesn't matter, era served or discharge status, like I had mentioned. And so, our goal is to reduce the barriers to care. And one of them being financial. So, we don't require insurance for our, veterans and first responders to be able to get care. We do accept it, but not all of our veterans, have insurance. Not all of our veterans, have the means to be able to pay for this programming. And so that's where we rely on, donations and our grants to be able to cover that.
Now, is this UF Health wide, or is it specifically local to like Gainesville or Jacksonville, or is it across the whole system? Where if a veteran was interested in connecting and learning more, what is your kind of geographic boundaries?
Yeah, so geographic is not a problem. So our location is actually in Jacksonville, but the location is actually based on where where the veteran is we're going to actually get them to us. So if they're in Jacksonville, we'll sit there and have them come to us. But if they're outside of that barrier, that boundary, we'll reimburse them, mileage reimburse mileage reimbursement rate. And then we'll house them at a hotel, for the duration for the 3-day evaluation. And then for our 3-week intensive outpatient program, if they meet criteria, if they're outside of the state, we'll actually, cover their airfare and their lodging as well. So again, that's not going to be a barrier.
That's amazing. Yeah, so necessarily people don't necessarily have to be in Jacksonville. They'd still be able to reach out to get info.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a pretty it's a pretty nice program. Again, when we're talking about reducing those barriers, we want to make sure that if a veteran is coming to us, regardless of where they're at, we're going to be able to make sure that, again, they're focused on getting that level of care. It does not matter, where they're coming from. Now, if they're going to be coming from, let's just say Colorado. So we actually have a larger network that we work with called the Avalon Action Alliance. And so we're one of 7 traumatic brain injury clinics across the nation. And so we may actually, if they come in, to apply for our Jacksonville location, but they're in Colorado, we may refer them to our Colorado location, because it's a closer clinic and we want to be, cognitive of our donor dollars.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, really, really growing, really expanding. And the more you fundraise, I would imagine, the more you can grow this program. So you mentioned there's only 7. You're one of 7 in the country. So that really speaks to kind of the elite nature of this. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got that designation, or what it takes to be in that group of 7 for what you all do?
Yeah, so originally, so we're actually based off the NICO model, which is actually what the DoD uses. So General Kelly actually is the one that kind of got all of this started. And whenever he left, the DoD and started the MIBH, which was in Colorado, which is kind of how all of this started. Funding wise. We realized that, again, the veteran community was kind of there was a barrier in being able to get seen for traumatic brain injury in regards to getting seen at the VA. There's long wait times, or maybe whenever it came to, service related injuries, there was just that access to care that was just not being seen. There was veterans that were slipping through the cracks. And so one of our major funders, the founders of Home Depot, so Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank, they realized this, and so they actually created, the Avalon Action Alliance, and so they started, basically kind of, looking at, these. These opportunities of hospitals that wanted to be able to get basically get all of us together to work as an alliance, be able to share ideas and research. And so as an alliance, we work together and, we identify hospitals that we want to sit there and bring under the umbrella. Our goal is to be able to, be in all 50 states. Obviously, it's going to take time and money and a lot of correspondence to be able to make that happen. So it's a goal. It's a big goal, but we're working our way through that.
Absolutely. How long has the organization been around for? Like, how new are you?
So we started seeing patients 3 years ago. So we're relatively new. We actually just graduated our 20th cohort. Really exciting times as we actually just increased the amount of patients that we're seeing. So we just went from seeing about 5 patients per cohort upwards to 9. So our goal is to see about 10 patients per cohort on average. So we see historically we see about 5 veterans. So to be able to double in size is a pretty big accomplishment, not just for our team, but for the veterans as well, because that cohort model is really great because they get to sit there and lean on one another. during, really, during a hard time, because, we get to, they come in for that 3-day assessment to determine if, in fact, they do have a traumatic brain injury, which here I'll talk about in a second. But in that intensive outpatient program, they're receiving over 100 clinical hours. About 100 clinical hours of treatment, and it's intensive. It's hard. They're having to talk about feelings. They're going through physical therapy. They're getting challenged every step of the way. And so to be able to lean on, their brothers and sisters that they're going through programming with is nice to have a bigger group with them. So, we're really proud, to have, have a larger group.
That's great. I mean, like you said, being able to nearly double in size from 5 to 9 is great. And ultimate goal of 10. So for you all, what are, some of the closer steps? I know the major goal is, all 50 states. Is there, kind of that intermediate range of, we want to be able to spread throughout all of Florida. Now we want to move to, the Southeast, out to, the Midwest. Kind of what are those more immediate horizon goals that people can look forward to hearing about?
I don't think we're looking at expanding anywhere, in Florida. I think just staying here in Jacksonville is really what we want to be able to do, because we can bring the veterans to us. I think more of the immediate goals is fundraising, is making sure that, we have enough funds to be able to expand our programming. Right now, that's at least it's my goal. But even bigger than that is making sure that people know about our program, sharing the message, allowing people the opportunity to be able to know about our program, allowing other veteran serving organizations to know our names. So as other veterans come to them with some of our, with some of these common symptoms of a traumatic brain injury, of concussions, they say, hey, this is the Haley Brain Wellness Program. Go talk to Ashton, or go talk to these clinicians. So, we're a common household name. That's, that is first and foremost, I think, the most important thing. Then comes fundraising. And then from there, everything else will kind of fall in line.
So
Absolutely.
with this being
so on that
brain
note,
injury,
for awareness, it's Brain Health Awareness Month. Can you talk to us about, is that a campaign that you all initiated, or is that something that was pre-existing that you guys tied in on? And how important is March to you all in terms of getting the word out and generating your fundraising efforts?
Yeah, so Brain Injury Awareness Month is actually, I think that's like a worldwide thing. So this has been something that we tied into. And I think it's incredibly important. I think, whenever we talk about the invisible wounds, this is a stigma that, especially among the military and first responder community, that people don't want to talk about. The more we talk about it, the easier it's going to be able to sit there and have people come out and reach out for help. So I think it's incredibly imperative, especially now, for us to be able to sit there and talk about, make it a common thing, sit there and go, go home, talk about it with your family, talk about it with your friends. We see it, and I don't know about you on your social media, but, on my social media, there's a Marine that's out there, right now that is, missing. He's having some suicidal ideations right now. I don't know if there is a history of TBI, but, there's something going on. And I think it has something to do with some invisible wounds. So we need to start talking about some of these issues, make it a common place. I don't think it should just be, for, once, 1 month a year. It shouldn't be, only March. We should be talking about this on a commonplace. But yes, so I think March is an important month, to sit there and recognize, and we should be capitalizing, not just, today or tomorrow or, anytime. It should be every day.
Absolutely. And we hope with the Association of Military Alumni being a new organization, this is actually one of the first organizations that we've developed, a strong partnership with within the UF community. So we are definitely on board to help you with that mission in terms of sharing content, connecting folks from our alumni network, and utilizing both of our reach to support this great cause. So we definitely, appreciate your support of our organization because, again, the work you're doing directly impacts not only our target audience, but the wider community, military community as well. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said we're excited. I'm so excited that UF now has a military group just to be able to sit there and celebrate you guys as well. I'm just so excited for you guys.
Absolutely. So, what is your relationship so far with kind of other? How do you tie in with other on-campus UF organizations? Do you guys have any relations with like the medical schools or the nursing schools or ROTC? Like, what is kind of your internal networking look like in terms of your relationship building within the UF umbrella?
Yeah, great question. So I will say that our clinical team is absolutely wonderful. So they have definitely embedded themselves, and so we also have first of all, our clinical team is part contracted as well. So, they are in different departments. So our medical director, Dr. Michael Storner, he's an addiction counselor. So he's actually in the psychiatry department, part-time over there, over in our department. So he is doing the rounds on both sides. Our speech language pathologist, who is actually just recently board certified. She is only one of a handful in the world to be board certified. So, our whole entire clinical team is incredibly embedded with the University of Florida. So they do a great job of integrating well. In fact, quite a few of our referral for patients, come from internal sources. Same thing with the VA as well. We actually, have a great referral source, and, internal and external, with other medical providers. And it has a lot to do with just relationship building, from our clinical team. I haven't done too much work with the RATSI yet. I'm hoping to be able to reach out and get some work with them. I would love any connections that you have, Kevin. So please feel free to share, with anybody you think I should be speaking with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we continue to grow. We're both relatively new organizations, but again, from a medical side, as you mentioned, this is a topic of conversation that is uncomfortable, especially a lot of currently serving service members. They're still, we're still as an organization within DoD trying to eliminate the stigma. We're trying to get people to be more open. I know there's still this perception that talking about things can be a career killer, and that people don't want to be seen as weak. So within the community, but being able to transition, into the veteran community and get people to talk about it. What are some strategies that you've seen in your organization that have been effective to trying to get people to open up, to try to break down those barriers and stigmas? Like, what are some things that you guys have? I know you said you had some checklists for TBI. Do you guys have any sort of similar kind of methodologies or just even tips for our listeners on how we can help, how we can get people to look past those perceptions and stigmas?
Yeah, great question. So I know we've been doing a lot of work with the the special ops community, and it has to go back with like mission readiness. That's the biggest thing, is because you always want to be, you always want to look for self-improvement. You don't want to always be like down in the dumps. I hate always being like that negative Nancy. You don't want to be that person that's always like, Eeyore in the freaking, in the Winnie the Pooh area. I mean, you nobody wants to be like that. And so you look for ways to, in the military, I always thought like look for areas of improvement. And so that's what our program does. Is you come to us, and this is your way for, being able to improve on yourself. You go to the gym, not to sit there and, hope for you to be able to get injured. No, you go to sit there and, build muscle mass, so, and that's what our program does. So Um, our program, it starts off with, and I'll just kind of go into it like a brief overview if that's okay with you. So it starts off with a 3-day evaluation, after you start off with like the intake and, you get through. So actually after you come in through our 3-day, our 3-day evaluation, we do what we call a meet the team. So unlike other programs, where you get, evaluated by your PCP, and then they refer you over to a neurologist who refers you over to a PT who refers you over to somebody else. And it takes you months and months and months to get seen. You actually meet with all of our doctors in a, 1-hour session, in one time. So you're meeting with our core, intensive outpatient program team. And you tell your story one time, you go over all your symptoms, and then over the next, day and a half, you have your follow-on appointments and you go over basically everything, and then from there, your last day, they basically say, okay, hey, this is what we suspect that you have. You have a, mild to moderate TBI, or maybe you don't have a TBI. And, they give you your recommendations. And then based on those recommendations, you can take them back to your providers, back in your home. And then, from there, if you meet the assessment and, we think that you have that criteria met, you can come back for our intensive outpatient program. And that's where the actual work is, being done. And you're the one that's leading, the doctor saying, hey, these are the symptoms that I want to be able to improve. All right. So I don't know about you, but most of the time when I go to a doctor, they're saying, okay, this is the treatment plan. This is what I want you to work on. All right. But as an individual that's guiding the ship, I get to sit there and be the one that's okay. Hey, I'm having issues with memory. I'm having issues with my balance. As a service member that is going, that's basically getting ready for, basically for anything, whether I'm getting ready to discharge out, or maybe I'm a reservist, that's, I don't know, anything really. I have things going on in my life. I'm wanting to sit there and improve on these basic functions. Our team is going to work with you on those basic functions. And those are the things that I want to be able to, sit there and work on. And those are the skill sets that we sit there and talk with on function improvements. That's how you sit there and you help, kind of help break down those barriers is especially in the special ops community, is because they don't want to sit there and say, hey, I have a disorder, or I'm broken. It's all about how you sit there and you talk to somebody. You don't want to sit there and get labeled. I hate having a negative label put on me. I want to sit there and look at the positives. Yeah. If I could sit there and say, hey, if I can come to a 3-week program and all of a sudden have, better muscles and, have a healthier lifestyle, I'm going to sit there and more likely go to that 3-week program if I'm going to have a better outlook on life. So that's what our team of doctors do. They sit there and they build you up and they make you feel really good about yourself, at the same time sitting there telling you all the things that, are things that you could work on and improve on in a very healthy and effective way. And like I said, I couldn't be happier to sit there and work with this team.
That's amazing. Like I said, this is like, as you mentioned, with it being only one of 7, doing what you do. We're extremely proud to have you part of the UF family, and under the UF umbrella. UF is really setting the stage as a top tier university in so many different ways. And this is just yet another organization and yet another team, not only showing the top tier programs that UF has, but UF's dedication to the military community. We definitely are just blown away by what you and that organization are doing. We definitely want to give you the opportunity. If someone wants to get more information, if they want to donate, if they want to connect, what are some ways that people can learn more and connect with you all and donate?
Yeah, so it's really easy. So if they want to learn more, they can call 904-244-3289. Again, that's 904-244-3289. Or they can visit online, ufhealthjax.org/brain tac wellness. So that's going to be on the links, right? You're going to be able to put that in the link somewhere. All right.
We'll put all the links in there so everyone clicking in can visit you all.
Perfect. I can't help. It's the military in me. There's some things that are ingrained that I just can't get rid of. And then for donate, right? Yeah, no. There's some things that I learned in the military that there's just so ingrained. And my civilian colleagues are like, "Yep, I can definitely tell the military in you." But if anybody's interested in donating or learning more on how to be able to, give to our program, you can reach out to me directly, and that's ashton.kroner@jax.ufl.edu, and then that'll be in the link as well.
Absolutely. Do you want, you're on LinkedIn as well, right?
I am on LinkedIn as well, and then that hopefully, Kevin, you'll be able to put that in the yes.
Absolutely. So we recommend everyone, follow Ashton, follow UF Haley Brain Health on LinkedIn. Check out their websites. Is LinkedIn your primary social presence for those wanting to kind of follow along for updates?
Yes, it's the Haley Brain Wellness Program on LinkedIn. That's our only social media channel right now. So I post on there fairly frequently, about twice a week. So lots of good contact on there.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely want to throw it back. We want to thank you for your time today. Any additional information, anything we missed today that you'd like to, kind of to go over that we, like I said, we might have missed?
Only thing that I have, because a lot of people don't know the symptoms of a TBI. So
Sure.
I always like to sit there and just read them off really, really quickly, because I didn't know that I had a TBI until I read it in black and white. So and I'm not a doctor, so don't sit there and say, if Ashton told me I have a TBI, I don't. But if you have any of these symptoms, just go talk to your primary care provider and say, hey, I may have had if you have any of these, just go talk to your primary care provider if you ever hit your head at any point. But if you have anxiety, balance difficulties, coordination difficulties, depression, dizziness, fatigue, forgetfulness, headache, irritability, light sensitivity, nausea, noise sensitivity, poor concentration, sleep disturbance, slowed thinking, or tinnitus, those are some of the common symptoms that we see in our clinic, and those are the symptoms that we help treat. And again, for our program, we see any era, any discharge status, regardless of the ability to pay. The only requirements that we have, again, have you ever served in the military? Are you within a year of discharge, or if you're currently serving in the National Guard, we can help.
Does that extend to reserve components as well, or is it exclusively guards? Because I know they have different systems.
Reserve components as well. The only caveat is if you're currently on orders. We want to, because we do have the NICO, and you guys have military doctors that you guys are eligible for. So
Absolutely.
Other than that, that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Ashton and Evan. This has been super enlightening. Again, we're greatly impressed and thankful for everything your organization is doing. I encourage everyone to check out the Haley Brain Health Program. Follow Ashton. Check him out on LinkedIn. And the Association of Military Alumni will be an ongoing partner in sharing their content and promoting this amazing UF initiative. So thank you so much, Ashton and Evan. It's been great talking, and I'm sure we'll be in regular communication moving forward.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Evan.
All right.